What up, gang? It's Mang. Another video for you here today. This is my 200th video on YouTube, and I want to cover my Aetherdrift pre-release weekend. I actually did 2 pre-release events, and I got some good news to report back to you. I want to show you the decks, some risers, cards that overperformed. If you're new, welcome to the channel. We do educational draft, standard, commander content here, and with this being my 200th video, I am giving away 3 more packs of Aetherdrift coming up at 2,000 subscribers. Make sure you hit that button, like the videos. I really appreciate all the support. We're growing, man. Once we hit 2K subs, I'm gonna give some more packs away. First impressions of Aetherdrift are awesome. I really do think this set has some serious replayability. I think all the archetypes are dangerous. You'll see some variety between the 2 decks that I show you here. And this is a look here at my 5-0 deck at pre-release. This was a 40-person event at my local game shop, and we were on Dimir. Not really, I don't know what you would call it. We're not Dimir artifacts. We're kind of Dimir removal with a little bit of late game synergy. So you'll see we don't have many cards in the 1 and 2 drop slot. This is a heavier curve than I typically play when I go to one of these events. We only had 6 playable cards in the 1 mana and 2 mana spot. Cards like Grim Bauble, Hellish Sideswipe, a nice little package here for removal. Wreckage Wickerfolk is my pick for black's top common. This thing goes in any black deck. Whether you're an artifact deck or a deck looking to rack up speed on turn 2, Wreckage Wickerfolk with that surveil ability is just a totally playable card at any point in the game. I'm a big fan of this one. Slick Imitator, we were able to actually get to max speed, with this being our only Start Your Engines enabler in the deck. I was just surprised we were able to rack up speed as easily as we did with our evasive creatures. And Slick Imitator copying a removal spell, copying one of our mythics like Oil Deep Gearhulk. It was just backbreaking for the opponent. And we racked up wins en route to that 5-0 record. We went 10-1 on the entire event. Some standouts in this deck. I really want to call out Spin Out. So we've seen Murder. It's in every set just about. Some sets it's good. Some sets it's a little too slow. If you take Murder to Karlov, for example, you really wanted to play combat tricks over removal. This is not the case. Removal is hard to come by, and I think that's where black is really the glue in this entire set. I was opening my cards, and I just found removal after removal in black. And that's usually my rule of thumb when I go to a pre-release or a sealed event. You got to follow the removal, because that's really is what's going to keep your opponent at bay and let you execute your game plan late. We also had played 1 copy of Siphon Fuel, another rare here in Demonic Junker, where this enters affinity for artifacts. You can reduce the cost of this card and destroy something on the opponent's side of the board. Just an excellent card. Probably one of the top performing black cards if we look at 17 lands data. We'll have to wait and see how the week plays out when there's more drafts going on. But man, this card, this was my promo actually for the event. So I knew we were probably going to be in black when I opened Oil Deep Gearhulk, Demonic Junker. Yeah, we were off to the races, no pun intended. The package here with Transit Mage being able to tutor up one of our big artifacts. We had 3 good targets for it. We had Packdoll Terror, which I think is another excellent 3/4 common creature in black. Spike Shell Harrier. This 5-drop was excellent every single time you played it. You cast this, you bounce something back to your opponent's hand, and you just gain so much tempo and board presence. And if we really needed more card draw, Gonti Knight Minister is a limited bomb. This powerhouse of a card. We were able to exile upwards to 4 to 7 cards each game we casted Gonti. If he doesn't get answered the minute you place him on the board and you have creatures ready to swing, you're just going to be stealing land drops, stealing removal spells from your opponent. You can hit big, you can hit small, it doesn't matter. You're just depleting your opponent's resources. Gonti simply delivered a lot of the wins for us in our event. I want to call out the vehicle here, the Signpost Uncommon Haunted Hellride. This card was an enabler for some of our 2-drops. I would be able to untap and give +1 in Death Touch to Slick Imitator. My opponent was just letting this thing in every single turn. 2 damage, gain a speed. 2 damage, gain a speed. They just did not want to trade their 3-drops, their 4-drops into this guy. And I don't blame them, but they're playing with fire, because once this guy goes unchecked, you copy a spell, you probably win the game. Yeah, this deck was simple. I was tempted to splash some white cards. I was tempted to splash white for something like Salvation Engine in this deck, but I decided against it. with all the double pips in the set, I think it's better to play it safe than sorry with your mana base. I didn't want to have to be stuck playing one planes or, mess up the mana here. So between all the cyclers and all the, the cheap interaction that we had, I was comfortable playing 16 lands with one dual land, one night market, and not having to worry about casting white cards or not. That's the one tip I would give you. Take a look at your pips on your cards. They're pretty, I don't know what the word is for it, but pip heavy. Like, it's hard to splash in this set if you don't have the fixing. And with all the mana intensive costs here, I'm not casting a Gear Hulk and trying to splash for Salvation Engine, things of that nature. I would try to avoid that in a 40 card deck. This deck was awesome. All the commons in black are just underrated. I had them way lower in my initial rankings, and removal's hard to come by, but not if you're playing black. All right, let's shift gears here. Pun very intended, to my 4-0 pre-release on Saturday night. So the wife was kind enough to let me get back out there and compete in another event. This is all leading up to MagicCon Chicago in a couple weeks, where I'll be doing the sealed PTQ. Let me know if you're going to be there. I would love to meet up with some of you. But this deck was even chock full of more bombs than the previous deck. I mean, you'll see some of the rares here on this list. It's disgusting, really. We had Market Back Walker with card advantage there. Another Gonti. It was just as good on night 2 as it was on night 1. And we had cards like Debris Beetle, the Siege Rhino of this set, just draining and 2-for-1ing my opponent, and even a Gonosaur Rex. This thing is an indestructible combat trick that just blows your opponent out, and if you can cast it for 5 mana, they have to find a way to deal with an 8/8 Trampler. Good luck. I've noticed with green, when you're playing the green decks, they are kind of what they are at face value. They are just overstated. You have like a 3/3 2-mana reach creature that doubles as removal in Web Strike Elite. You have, Fang Guardian, which is just an excellent flash combat trick. You can blow your opponent out easily with that card, for example. Earth Rumbler, with 6-7 creatures in the graveyard in the late game. You're able to swing and get damage in with Vigilance and Trample, and hold it up as a blocker. It never taps with the Vigilance keyword. It is just a great catch-up card, a great stabilizer. And I've come around to the Thundering Broodwagon. When I first saw this vehicle, I thought it was going to be a little clunky, a little too expensive. Only able to remove the mana value 4 or less was a little concerning. But no, this card played great. You cast it, you move a blocker out of the way, and you get in with big tramplers if you're playing black-green. This deck's sweet. And again, I wanted to splash white for some more rares, but decided against it. This pool was just chock full of value. One of my other favorite commons, I mentioned Wickerfolk earlier, Venom Sac Lagak. This is a 2-mana 2/1 with Death Touch. You can saddle it to get in cleanly as a 2/4. More times than not, your opponent's not going to double block at that point in the game, but it combos so nicely with Run Over. You can cast this for 1 mana and have that punch effect with a Death Touch creature. It was just difficult for my opponent to deal with. This deck was incredible. We dropped 1 game on the night due to Mana Flood, but the rest of them weren't even close enough to report. This is the type of deck I want to open in Chicago. If you're lucky, this is an example of a good black-green one here. Obviously, in draft, you won't be able to put this together. People are going to be taking these cards. I don't really know what else to say. Both of these decks ran 16 lands, mainly due to the fact that there's so much cycling in this set and Surveil in this set. I just felt comfortable running 16 lands despite some of these big expensive cards late, mainly because I knew I was going to be able to cycle into my land drops. I wish I had a Pothole Mole, maybe at the 3-drop spot. I really haven't got a chance to play with some of those aggressive red-white, red-black decks, but I'm in a few discords. I've seen some trophy decks where those are totally excelling too. They can get underneath some of these bigger decks. That's really all I got to say about Aetherdrift, is that it's got a variety of potential. I think a lot of the decks can be successful. I can't even give you one that I think is going to underperform. So when you're going into drafts this week on Arena, just let the cards come to you. Make sure you keep an eye out for the signals. Maybe picks 9 through 13 in pack 1. Take a look at what colors are coming your way and try to pivot from there. But take the good cards early, see what your signals look like. I really don't think you can go wrong going into any of these archetypes. I think this is going to be one that's going to stick around. I'm excited to get into the drafts. All right, enough yapping about the pre-release. It went well. We're still undefeated. Let's see if we can carry that into this draft weekend on Arena. It's time for a pack opening. I actually won 37 packs of Aetherdrift. I won a whole box. The second event was a little smaller, but let's get into the pack openings. I'm going to cue the music, take a look at some of the polls we got. Let me know in the comments how your pre-release went. Just do me a favor on the way out, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys for 200 more videos. Peace!